How are you? Thank you.
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. All right. So, welcome to Friday Night Live with John.
And Patty.
All right. So, I just want to make sure that everybody knows that we always have gift certificates available. If it's a special occasion, somebody looking to buy you a gift and they don't know what to get you, just tell them to give us a call. We can take orders for gift certificates over the phone or on our website. You can also get gift certificates for certain dollar amounts and for Zyto. All right, so
Services.
yeah. Services, you'd have to call that in to the or come into the office to get that. The ones on the website are for a specific dollar amount or for a Zyto. But if you want it for a specific service, you'd have to call the office or come in. All right, so we have custom meal plans if you're struggling with what to eat. Tell us what foods you don't eat based off of our legal foods list, and we can create weekly meal plans for you. We do 1 week for $25 and 4 weeks for $75. Our next Zoom call will be Friday, February 21st. The topic will be determined. I already have something in mind and I don't know about it. But we want to know what you guys want to hear about. You know, we try to come up with things and we may, recycle an old class that we've done a year or two ago, or just find something new. But, we want to make sure that you're interested in what we have to say, and that you want to learn what you want to hear about. All right. So tonight we're going to talk about
Next class.
sugar, processed foods, the negative effects of all that bad stuff, all those things. If any of you are right now crunching on any of that stuff, put it away, throw it away. And we'll get into more detail. Oops, a little too quick, sorry. When he's ready.
You done?
You ready? I'm
I'm
babbling.
Good evening, everybody. Just want to say hello and thank everybody for being here and hope we can learn something tonight. I'm looking for questions. People have questions, just put it in the chat or just ask, say, I have a question, speak up, and we can answer the questions as we go. So tonight, I want to talk about foods and the negative effects of processed foods. Everything seems, and marketing leads us to believe that many things are healthy when they're not healthy. I was watching a podcast the other night, and they were talking about how many additives get put in food. And it is said that they said that there's, in our country, there's over 10,000. Let me say that again. 10,000 different additives that is put in food in our country. Now, that's an astronomical amount of things that are added. And most of the stuff, we don't even realize what it is. We don't realize what it does. But the most alarming thing that I thought came away with it is that the European countries, the ones that are in the worst shape, only have 400 versus our 10,000 different additives. And I just think that's alarming. And it's no wonder that of all the industrialized countries in the world, we have the most unhealthy people. We have the worst medical system because of so many people being unhealthy. And we have virtually the shortest lifespan of all industrial countries. Why? Because of those 10,000 additives that get put in our food day in and day out. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you that some of these foods we talk about to never, ever, ever have anything like it. But I'm saying that what we have to learn, if we're going to be well, we have to know what foods are okay and what foods aren't. And the foods that we do know that aren't healthy, they have to be at a very, very minimal. Okay. So nobody is saying that you should never, ever have a bagel. All right. But we can't live on bagels and pretzels and donuts and ketchup and those kind of things. It just will not work for our health. Our whole goal is, and I always tell people this, my job is not to tell people that you're going to live longer. What I'm trying to do is work with people about health while they're on this earth. And that's really all that we can do. I'm a firm believer that things happen and we don't know when it's going to be, and I'm not sure that we can prolong, but we certainly can prolong our good health as we age and mature in life. And that's really what we want to target. As I told some people today that we're in, I'm so much more about good health than I am about weight loss. Because if we feel good and we can move and we can do the things we want to do, that's really the ultimate goal in our life, is to be able to do the things we want to do. Regardless of our age, we want to be healthy and be able to function. And the main reason that we don't is food, the quality of food that we put in our body. There's an old saying that we are what we eat. So if we eat junk, we're going to become junk. And I firmly believe that if we eat healthy, we'll remain healthy. So that's kind of the mode I want to take. And I'm ready to field questions as we go through it, and people have questions or want to talk about certain things or certain foods. Okay. All right. So what is processed foods? Okay. And processed foods is nothing more than any food that's been changed. Any food that's been changed from its natural state. And there's different levels. There's minimally processed foods, and ultra processed foods. So our processed foods are things that, they put different items on to try to preserve them. That a lot of times you can wash them off, you can take care of them, you can do things with them. And it shows, for example, apples, okay? Apples are unprocessed, and all of your basic fruit is unprocessed. Corn is not something that I really want to have on there, simply because corn doesn't really have any nutrition. But if you're going to eat corn, at least for the most part, it has not been processed. It is what it is. Even though when you eat it, you eliminate it just the same way it went in. Okay, all you're getting is a little bit of taste. So our body has to break something down that's of no value to the body, and it really can't even do that. Your minimally processed foods are things like your dried foods, dried fruit, those kind of things. What's that? So what you want to do is we really don't want to be eating things that are like dried fruit, vegetables that have been processed, anything like that. Your processed foods are more like your flour. Okay. And why are they processed? Because they have to break it down. And a lot of times what happens is they use pesticides and insecticides on them, and it gets in the grains. So therefore, we're getting things like pesticides, insecticides, different things like that we see when we do the cytoscans. And your ultra processed foods are the things that have been completely changed. They're not even real foods. A lot of your cereals, different things like that. Now, one thing that I do want to mention is, regardless of your political ideas, at least our government now is talking a little bit about food and the dangers of food. And I'm really hoping that it takes hold where people start thinking about it, because if it's ignored by our leaders, it's going to be ignored by everybody else. If we hear about some of this stuff, and I just heard yesterday or day before, that the FDA has now said you can't use certain colorings in food. I think
Red dye number 4.
Red dye number 4, that's the one I heard, which is in some of the cereals and different things like that. And those are ultra processed foods, and they're very, very unhealthy and dangerous to the body. Okay. So minimally processed foods are basically prepared to make them easier to access by being dried, and even frozen food is minimally processed. So when things are frozen and sit frozen for a while, that is considered minimally processed. Filtered or fermented foods are minimally processed. And so frozen vegetables, lentils, dried fruits, fresh or pasteurized juices with no sugar added, those are minimally processed. If we get into the processed foods, it's foods that are basically derived from foods that we recognize and are versions of original food. And basically they're consumed as a part or a side dish in culinary preparations, that type of things. And examples are, and most of your processed foods do have 2 or 3 separate ingredients kind of meshed together. And canned vegetables are one, canned fish, tomato paste, fresh or unpackaged bread, and your cheeses would classify as processed foods. And then we get into your ultra processed foods, which are industrial formulated, okay? And they're basically totally or mostly made from substances extracted from foods. And then they're engineered and optimized to have a highly good taste, textures, and appearance, okay? Things like cookies, ice cream, chocolate, energy drinks, frozen pizzas, those kind of things are your ultra processed foods. Now, sometimes it can be kind of tricky, because if you take, for example, carrots, and you have your what's those little ones?
The baby carrots?
Yeah, the baby carrots that you see in the stores are in bags. Those are ultra processed foods. Okay. So when you go places and they have those kind of carrots, baby carrots, sitting around and, with dips and stuff, they're easy to eat because they're all basically the same size, but they look like carrots. They taste like carrots. But in actuality, they've been taken from the carrot, broke down, chemicals added, put into dyes that are a certain size, and they're all made basically the same size, and they look healthy, but they're not. So sometimes we can get into a jam where we think that we're eating perhaps minimally processed foods, but in reality, they are ultra processed. So we have to kind of think about what we want to do. So what is in the ultra processed foods that make them bad? Okay, so what it is the dyes, the food dyes. And there's a lot of articles that you can look up and you can see what they are. Flavor enhancers. When you see something that says flavor enhanced or such and such is in it to enhance flavor, that means it is ultra processed because they've added there. Your food preservatives. And there's again, there's websites on there. One of them is ChicagoInternalCleansing.com. 7 foods that preservatives you should avoid at all costs. And then additives, brominated vegetable oils. So when you get into your vegetable oils, for example, you got to remember that those vegetable oils are the cheap oils. Things like canola oil and what are some of the other ones?
Any oil that's heat processed.
Heat processed, correct. Okay.
Like corn oil, definitely heat processed. If you want a good oil, it should say hold expeller pressed or first expeller pressed.
Right.
Do you want to just couple
Okay,
questions
so
here?
we have a question already. Are GMOs GMOs are primarily in your ultra. There could be some in your processed, but primarily it's in the ultra processed foods. When it says natural flavor, is that considered? Yes, that is correct. Natural flavors, they had to put a flavor in it. So basically what they're saying is it's a flavor, but it is processed. And I would say that is not ultra processed. That would be more in the processed food category. Good. Glad we got questions. Okay. So different things, what makes them bad and what are in them? Antibiotics. Now you say, well, why are antibiotics and steroids in animals? They use, if you don't buy grass-fed meat, what they do with animals, and growing up in Minnesota, for a little bit, I worked in a slaughterhouse. And what they do is they take these animals and they pump them full of antibiotics and steroids. Steroids makes it grow faster, and antibiotics keeps them from getting sick. Now, the animal can be sick, but the symptoms don't show. So the animal will continue to eat. Just like when we take antibiotics, it stuffs it deeper in the body, and we just really don't realize it. Okay. So what happens is they can use that meat because most of those animals are locked up. So they can't move, they don't get exercise. So steroids actually builds some of the muscle and the meat in the animal. Pesticides and fertilizer in plants. So what they do is they use a lot of fertilizers and pesticides that kill the weeds, but do not kill the plant. Okay. So some of it will kill both. They have to be careful, but a lot of it in your ultra processed foods, that's why we know that the food is not real, because the plant actually keeps growing, but the weed, which is natural, dies. So that gets in our food. And that's one thing that when I do the Zytoscans, a lot of times I'll see insecticides, pesticides, glyphosate. That's all part of these pesticides and fertilizers that they put on food. You want to get in the habit of washing your fruits and vegetables really well, okay, to keep that stuff out of your body. Because in the wintertime, especially, you're not going to get fresh stuff. You buy things that are from other countries, different places in the United States, maybe where it's warmer climate, etc. And when you have ultra or processed foods, there's a lack of micro and macronutrients, okay? Which means you're eating the vegetables, the fruit, the eggs, the meat, whatever it might be, but there's no nutrition in it. It's loss of nutrition because of the chemicals that they put in it. Therefore, we lead to malnutrition. Now, malnutrition does not mean you're going to get thin because you're not eating. Malnutrition means you don't have enough nutrition for the body to stay healthy. Okay, and that's so important when we're eating. We have to understand if we're eating bad, then we're not getting nutrition, and we're getting a lot of fat, and we're getting a lot of chemicals, which those things lead to poor health. Food coloring, yellow 5, red 5, blue, they got all kinds of stuff, okay? Why do they color it? Makes it look good, makes it taste good. For example, back in my day, I used to love M&Ms. Okay, now M&Ms, and I would get big bags of them. I mean, I don't mean the share size. I'd get the family pack, okay? And I would be driving and doing stuff. I'd just be eating M&Ms. And all that coloring in my body, I would say just about killed me, all right? But I never thought of it. Nobody ever really mentioned it. And they taste good. So, and plus that, they're nuts. Nuts are healthy.
Oh, you had the peanut M&Ms.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I wouldn't do anything else because, I got to get my protein. Flavor enhancers is aspartame, amongst other things. Aspartame is a cancer-causing product. It's a known cancer-causing product, period, in the conversation. What happened is, for those of you who don't know, aspartame went before the FDA 7 times, and the FDA turned it down and said it's too dangerous, it causes cancer. A gentleman who worked for the United States government and retired from the government, he went to work for Monsanto. And Monsanto is the producer of aspartame. And he took that before the FDA, and he got it approved immediately. Now, Is there anybody out there that knows who that person is? If you do, message it to me. If somebody gets it right in the next 10 seconds, they'll get a prize. I don't see any messages. Got 5 seconds left. Nobody? Donald Rumsfeld. Okay, Donald Rumsfeld was secretary, I believe, Secretary of Defense or of the State Department. I can't remember now off the top of my head, but when he retired, he got it approved, and it's been approved ever since. And even though our government knows it causes cancer, the Food and Drug Administration knows it causes cancer, it is still very highly regarded and put in foods that we eat all the time, and we feed it to kids by galore because it says sugar-free. It says calorie-free. And even though highly educated people see it, they don't understand it, and they use it, and then they wonder why people are sick. But anytime you see the word aspartame, you need to throw it away. If you by mistake buy something and you later see it has aspartame or any of these things, you should get rid of it. Okay. Another food preservative is MSG. What does MSG do?
Makes you thirsty.
Makes you thirsty. It preserves the food. Okay. It preserves the food. And then next is food additives. And going back to MSG, a lot of restaurants use it simply because they don't throw away food. They can't afford to. So whatever's not used, they can use MSG, make it into other meals, break it down, and then we eat it in a restaurant and say, wow, that was really good. And it was, but it can be harmful to the body. And that is why people that eat out all the time are never healthy. Never. We have to get our own food, prepare it, and that's the way we stay healthy. Food additives, brominated vegetable oils, and that's the oils Patty mentioned before. Your key ones are your canola oils, very, very popular because they're inexpensive. And your oils that come in are heat processed, like Patty said, and or in light colored bottles, okay, or in tins. Those you gotta be very, very careful of. The light color, sunlight does a number on oils, even olive oil. You want the dark, dark bottles. So all these ingredients, and we buy them and we get them and we have them and we, etc. And large doses of ingredients can cause what? Inflammation. And we have joint problems. We have brain fog. We have
Skin issues.
skin issues. Yes, skin
Constipation.
breaks out. Right. We have sugar problems. We become diabetic, etc. Okay. Now people say, "Well, I only eat a little bit of it once in a while." But the problem is people eat some of the antibiotics, some of the stuff with the pesticides, some with no nutrition, a little bit of food coloring, some once in a while aspartame, MSG, we're not sure. The oils, okay. But when you add them all together, it becomes quite a lot. And that's where the problem comes in. It's not like we're going to sit down and drink canola oil, okay? But everything combined is what causes problems over and over and over. So other things are sugar, the high fructose corn syrup, which is a synthetic form of sugar. And believe it or not, a lot of your supplements that you buy in stores, a lot of times people tell me, I'm getting my supplements somewhere else because they're a lot cheaper. True, because they're loaded with some of these synthetic forms of sugar, and they're called binders and fillers. Okay. And some of the binders and fillers are actually sawdust, believe it or not. Your fat, your hydrogenated oils, your things that don't have fiber can create inflammation, and too much improper sodium. Now, do we need salt? The answer is
Yes.
yes. Yes, we do, but we need the right kind of salt, okay? We want, Celtic salt is really good. Pink Himalayan salt is good. Sea salt is good. You don't want your ionized, salt, table salt that people like to buy and put on everything. That creates high blood pressure. How are we such the grass?
Well,
How?
are we sure? But just trying to say,
Oh, how are we sure? Okay. How are we sure? Okay, grass-fed meat is really one. Okay, great question. Okay. We don't. However, we can only go by the labeling. If we go by the labeling and we get it from reputable places, we have to believe. Now, I'm not naive enough to think that sometimes some things happen and people do things. That's the way people are. But I do believe that if you get it at the reputable places, you will be pretty safe. And the next question is, what about kosher salt? Kosher salt's okay. That's fine. Okay. Just one I didn't think of when I was going through the list. Okay. So, excellent. What are the negative effects? What negative effects do ultra processed foods have on the body? Well, I'm going to tell you that everything that goes in your body is creating a reaction somewhere in your body. Everything. From the mind to every organ in your body, your spine, your emotions, everything is governed by inflammation in the body. So when people are obese, they're diabetics, they're prone to injuries and infections, all the way to the mind, Alzheimer's, dementia. There was a lady in yesterday or the day before, I can't remember, Wednesday, I guess it was, and her husband's being tested for Alzheimer's. And I said, how much sugar is he eating? And said, that was one of the questions the doctor asked, how much sugar does he eat? They're starting to recognize that sugar creates the brain issues. Now, here's the thing. All of these issues that you're looking on the screen do not happen overnight. It's not like you eat a candy bar and you say, okay, I have this issue. I understand it. It's slow process until we get to a point where something breaks down. And most of us don't pay attention to it until we break down, unless we're educated and we've done things and we feel the difference. But even sometimes people have a tendency to go back to their old lifestyle and let their body break down. But if you look at all these things, there's things all the way from cancers to things that we might think, aren't, not horrible. But all of them create issues. Joint pain can be debilitating after a while. Arthritis can be debilitating after a while. But the common denominator is they are all autoimmune deficiencies, all of them. Okay? From the gingivitis to the allergies and asthma, colitis or bowel diseases, mind, memory loss, all that stuff is autoimmune. And it's all governed by what we put in our body. And when I talk to people that are going through the programs and they go, I feel so good, I feel light, I feel this, that's because we're taking away these ultra processed foods and chemicals out of the body. But just like it didn't happen all of a sudden, getting rid of it isn't a 30, 60, 90-day process, because the body doesn't release it that quickly. It'd be great if we could inject a needle and just drain it, okay? That would be great, but it doesn't work that way. And oftentimes, the first thing that started going bad is the last thing that heals. So it's kind of like the most recent will heal much sooner than the things that started happening 20 years ago that we didn't even recognize. And by the time we did recognize it, it was pretty bad. And therefore, it takes much more time. And that's why when people get done with programs, they're not done. We're never done taking care of ourselves. Never. Just like you're never done taking care of your home, your relationship, your children, whatever it might be, you're never done. It's a lifelong thing. So we have to understand that when it comes to our health. And unfortunately, we don't like to think of it that way. We like to think, you know what, I do this and I'm fixed. And it doesn't quite work that way. But we want to eliminate the risk of those things you're looking at, especially the real severe ones like the cancers and the Alzheimer's and the cardiovasculars and metabolic syndromes, etc. Diabetes. We gotta do the things to protect ourselves and put that shield up to protect ourselves from those issues. So, does food affect our mental health? Okay. So the answer is a 100% yes, because it's called the gut-brain connection. And what we have to understand is this. It's a two-way communication network between the central nervous system, brain, spinal cord, and the spinal cord is part of it, okay? And the nervous system, which is actually embedded in the intestinal tract. So what goes on in your intestinal tract, your colon, your duodenum, your small intestines, everything is sent through basically transmitters back to the brain. And whatever we do, whether it's the nutrition we're getting, the balance of microbes, the secretion, the breakdown, it creates different issues, good or bad. If we're not healthy, it increases our stress. Everything becomes more stressful. It affects our moods, anxiety, our neurotransmitters, our ability to think and remember, and all those kind of things is governed by what goes on in the gut. And that is why everything we do starts with the gut. Now, what happens is the chemicals, the microorganisms, send chemical messengers to the brain. And that affects the neurotransmitters like your serotonin, dopamine, all those feel-good things that make us feel calm and happy and make us laugh and smile, etc. That is how that works. And when we're unhealthy, it's just the opposite. We get angry easy. If you're living with somebody who gets angry easy, can't control their temper, moody all the time, all those kind of things, they are having a gut problem. Okay? We have a tendency to say the person's crazy. Well, in time they might be, but in reality, when it starts, it's a gut thing. It's in the intestinal tract. And that's why everything that we eat and put in our body, where does it go through? It doesn't go through the brain, it goes through the intestinal tract, everything. So everything we do, good or bad, is transmitted through the neurotransmitters into the brain and says, this is good, this is bad. If it's good, we feel good. If it's bad, we won't. All right? So all of these things, the disruption of the gut microbes are known to be associated with various mental health disorders such as depression, anxiety, etc. Even what medicine says, old age diseases like Alzheimer's and dementia, all those kind of things are caused by gut health. But we have to understand, we have to start working at it early. We can't wait until we're old and say, now I got to take care of it because I don't want to get the old age disease. We always pay for our sins, but it's always later on. Okay? Always. So if we're not good to ourselves, we're going to pay for it later on. We are. And it's unavoidable. All right? The thing we can do is change it. And once we change it, we have to keep it that way. Now, today and yesterday, I talked to several people who are on programs, and they went places and they all said, people kept asking, You're not going to eat nothing. You're not going to even have a drink. You're not going to. And some people said they don't, they didn't use the word badger them, but, kind of teased them, I guess, might be a better, like, oh, come on. No, people don't understand that all that stuff we're putting in our body, most of it is ultra processed, and we're just destroying our body. And people don't understand it when you're detoxing. Most people just don't understand it. And there's people on here listening tonight who have told me, they've talked to people, and people say, I'd love to look like you, feel like you, but I'm not going to take all those supplements. I'm not going to go 3 days without eating. I'm not going to. Okay, then you're always going to have the problem that you have, and it's going to keep getting worse until you take and make a change. Your thoughts on grapeseed oil? Somebody has to ask a question. Grapeseed oil is okay. It's not, I wouldn't say it's one of your best oils. The one thing that grapeseed oil does do that you have to be careful, it heats really fast. Okay, really fast. So, the reason I say that is when you cook food with it, you want to be careful that you don't overcook or use it too much because it'll overcook food, and overcooked food means you lose nutrition. But it's not a bad oil. Okay.
I think the overall rule with oil is just make sure it's cold pressed or first expeller pressed, and it's in a dark green bottle.
Yes.
I think those are the key things.
Unless it says canola oil or something like that.
Yeah, we avoid the corn, canola,
Yeah,
and
there's
vegetable
corn
oils,
oil, all
but the rest of them.
Now, the number one thing that can cause disruption in the microbes, which results in hyperactivity, anxiety, is sugar. That is why everybody that's had children, everybody's had children, and they have a babysitter, they tell them, do not feed them sugar. Okay. But as adults, they go out and eat tons of sugar. All right. But we don't want sugar for kids. Why? Because they won't sleep. They get upset easy. They won't relax. And that's what sugar does. And that's why we have to start teaching kids at a young age what sugar does to them. Go ahead. Why don't you take that one?
Okay, so your thoughts on organic unrefined coconut sugar mixed with organic cacao and organic coconut butter for a chocolate product called, I think it's HU. I've seen that. In moderation, in extreme moderation, that is not something that I stay away from anything that says that's got sugar in it. So even unrefined coconut sugar, it's still sugar. So it's just, moderation.
And the other thing too, like we talked about a little bit earlier, once you get multiple ingredients mixed together, they don't automatically go together by themselves. So they have to do other things and process it to make them mix. If you were going to do it, if you're going to buy it already put together like that, I would say no. If you were to use coconut sugar and buy the organic cacao powder and the coconut butter and you put them together, it's probably a whole lot better than if you buy it already put together. Okay.
Makes
So
sense.
that's, and now people will say, but it's more expensive. You're right. It is. It says, I don't know,
Can you clarify that, Judy? It says what?
ooh, emulsifiers. Okay, let's.
Sure. Right.
Okay, so when you get cranky, when you get upset easy, you have some anxiety, think about what you put in your body the last day or two. And I can almost guarantee you it's not the best stuff to be putting in your body. Okay. So energy. A lot of people eat sugar and many other things to get energy. For example, you can't hardly turn on the TV anymore unless you see 5-hour energy drinks or monster drinks or some facsimile of that. They are dangerous. I don't care what anybody says, they are dangerous. I saw a commercial on TV the other day, said such a drink had was safe. It was sugar-free, no calories, but it had like 200 grams of caffeine or some enormous amount of caffeine. That's not healthy. Okay. Because what happens is it gives you a ton of energy and people drink in the morning thinking it's going to last all day. The reason they need it is because they're not eating proper foods to get normal energy. So they get up in the morning tired and they chug this stuff, whether it be coffee or whether it be these drinks, to get energy. I would be willing to bet you 90% of all people that drink coffee or these drinks don't like the taste. They get used to it and they like what it does and makes their body feel. But that's the same thing that would be if you use cocaine or you used many drugs. It can make you feel okay for a short period of time, but it's actually damaging to the body. So the body creates energy from the foods we eat and the nutrition we put in our body. So if you're eating ultra processed foods, you're not getting the micro and macro nutrients that the body needs to function. So the macro and the micro nutrients are like gas in your car. Okay. If you put watered down gas in your car is not going to run well, no matter how little amount you put in of water. All right. So you have to be thinking the same way for your body. Every time you put something that has ultra processed, it negates other things that you put in your body that might be good. And your body is having to function without getting the nutrition that it needs for all parts of the body. And that increases inflammation all throughout the body, not just joints, but the brain, everything about your body, your pancreas, your liver, your gallbladder, everything. And then it breaks down the intestinal walls, because we're back to the colon again and the small intestines, and slows down digestion, which does what? It creates a backup of gas, which then backs up, creates issues with the esophagus in the body, gives us a cough. We think, oh, we have a cold or our lungs or something going on. No, it's indigestion from eating wrong foods. And then, of course, the sugar leads to up and down, up and down. You know, we uppers and downers. And back in the 70s, they used to call them. People would take uppers in the morning and downers at night. So those of you who are a little bit on the more mature side, remember that, okay? And there was a big thing about it.
I think Lou's is probably the youngest one on here, and there's probably a big gap too.
Yeah, probably.
All right, here we go. Oh, so all right. First time drinking a 5-hour. So Lou said, speaking of Lou's, my first time drinking a 5-hour energy, my stomach was in so much pain. Never again. That was 8 years ago. Good.
Good.
So if you're ingesting something that causes an ill effect in the body, whether it be either stomach upset, headache, your body doesn't want it.
And I always tell people when they're done with a program, they say, can I have this or can I say, well, if you're going to have it, I hope you get sick. I do. Why? Because just like Lou's, you're not going to do it again. If it makes you sick and makes you feel miserable after you've been healthy and putting nothing but good in, then hopefully your brain says, and you listen to your brain and your gut and says, I don't want that. Unfortunately, people do it because everybody else is doing it. And therefore they just do it and then they become unhealthy. Mm-hmm. Somebody said, is green tea okay with less caffeine than coffee? Caffeine is caffeine is caffeine is caffeine. Okay. Now, the less caffeine you have, the better. But when you do green tea and you use tea bags, those are processed. Okay. And they have a very high propensity for mold. Very high. When they stack leaves of the tea leaves, they stack them to let them dry. And when they dry, they become moldy. And that also enhances flavor. So a lot of people with candida love tea from tea bags, okay? Because it's feeding the issue and makes you feel good for the moment. Okay, so weight gain, okay? We talk about weight gain and people talk about all the time, I just don't understand why I'm gaining weight. And a lot of times people say things like, I'm not eating that much. And a lot of it is because of what we're putting in our body. I will tell you, I have family after I was almost middle age. I realized I had family in Mississippi. And I went down to visit them, and everybody was unhealthy. But I noticed that they didn't seemed to eat a real lot. And I was kind of puzzled by that. Very large abdomens, very large issues on their body. And in talking to Dr. Nelson, I said, I really don't understand these people. They're all so heavy. And she said, because they're eating tons of sugar, the inexpensive food per se, sugars, a lot of the trans fats, that type of thing, and sodium is causing the weight gain, even though they're not eating huge portions. And down there, everything is fried. I mean, deep fried. I don't mean just fried with good oil, deep fried with a lot of the people down there that live down there, they have their own deep fryers in their home. And they eat lots of vegetables, but they're all deep fried. Okay. And they don't understand it. And all of my family down there is unhealthy. I keep getting messages. What would you do for this and that? And I go, quit eating the stuff you're eating. Well, that's all we have here. Well, it's not, but we can believe that. So weight gain and obesity, large dose of trans fat, sugar, sodiums, etc. But one thing about those items, when we eat them, we want more stuff. It's like people that drink alcohol. You go out and party and do that, you want something to eat. Bars actually play on that. Okay. So people have a drink, they'll put some pretzels or something there. People start nibbling, and all of a sudden they say, where's the menu? Okay. And then they'll get the burgers or the hot dogs or whatever, French fries, whatever. So one thing leads to another. And of course, the flavor enhancers, like I mentioned about the M&Ms, they taste good. So you just keep on eating them. And then they increase your dopamine release, okay, which means the dopamine is your unhappy, okay, unlike your serotonin, etc. The dopamine lights up the brain and makes you feel like you're hyper, makes you feel, and that leads into anxiety, that leads into mental things that can't sleep at night because they ate the wrong foods, etc., and they become addictive. And that's one reason why obesity is on the rise in our country, because we have all these ingredients that are put in there to make us hungry.
Mm-hmm.
It can cause issues of blood pressure and heart disease. Somebody asked me today if they continue eating the way they're eating on a program, will their cholesterol and blood pressure improve? It'll go away, period. I had blood pressure and cholesterol issues where the numbers were out of sight. I haven't had to take anything for 25 years. But the thing is, you have to understand that what foods create problems with blood pressure and what foods create problems with heart disease, which they are together. The Food and Drug Administration says do not eat eggs, do not eat red meat, do not eat what's some of the other thing? Eggs, red meat, butter, etc. Untrue. Eggs do not give you high cholesterol as long as you eat good eggs. When you crack an egg, your egg yolk should be orange, not yellow. When we first started carrying farm fresh eggs, people would call me the same day and say, there's something wrong with these eggs. Why? I would ask them, because the yolk is orange. I said, what color are your eggs? Yellow. That's old eggs. You've lost the nutrition in them. Most eggs you buy in the grocery store, especially the ones that are yellow, are months and 6 months, 8 months old. Even though they say fresh, they say organic, all kinds of stuff. They're old. All right. Potatoes you eat, I'm not jumping, but we saw something one time, remember? Potatoes, your average potato you buy in the grocery store is 5 to 7 years old. They store them underground in Idaho primarily. Okay, they harvest them, they store them underground. So therefore, the potato that you would think would have some nutrients is very little because they're old. And the older the food is, the less nutrition it is. Okay, so getting back to heart health, ultra processed foods, what does it do? It creates blood pressure issues, heart disease, etc. Creates heart attacks, strokes, etc. We have to understand what is good and what is bad. We cannot listen to the stuff that we've been taught because it's not right. So red meat is not the enemy. Meat is good. It's high nutrition. The leaner the meat, the better. I tell people to eat wild game if you can get it. People go, oh, that's horrible. Well, it's game. Those animals eat nothing but vegetables, grass. They roam. They eat the good stuff. You will never see deer and antelope and elk eating brown, nasty grass. They just won't. Okay, because they can go to where the good grass is and the good grains are. So therefore, their meat is healthy. So, but you need to know what is grass-fed versus what is not. So you have to get the good stuff. Eggs are good for you. Butter, real butter is good for you. A little history. The reason a lot of this stuff came was because of an individual by the name of Dwight Eisenhower. And he was president back in the 50s. And he had heart disease. And because he liked eggs and butter and stuff like that, it was assumed that's what gave him the heart problems. But it turned out that was not. What he ate was a lot of junk foods at the time. What back then wasn't nearly as junky as it is today. But and therefore, our Food and Drug Administration said, oh, now we need to go with sugar-free. We need to go with fat-free, etc. That's how it all came about. He was a sugaraholic as well. And so even though he liked some of the good stuff, he was eating way too much of the other stuff that created those problems. Okay.
All right.
Hey, we got some questions here. Right? Maybe not.
Lou says she loves tea, so I shouldn't buy.
So shouldn't buy
tea
tea. No, you should. Tea bags are not the way to go. The best way to do is, if you can, especially in the summertime, pick your stuff you want to put in water and have fresh. Is stevia leaf extract okay? Yes, as long as the ingredient is only stevia leaf. So should we not eat potato? I really like potatoes. So do I sometimes. Don't overdo it. Potatoes is a carb. It's a starch. Okay. If you're trying to especially maintain decent weight, potatoes is not the best food. It's the highest carb of all the vegetable family. It's 25% carb. I drink tea, organic, unsweetened bottled tea. Ingredients: purified water, organic green tea, ascorbic acid, vitamin C, BU at Whole Foods. For Vitacost, thoughts. It's still bottled. It's still put together. It's okay. I wouldn't make it my only thing I drink. As long as you're drinking sufficient amounts of water, you're fine.
Thank
Are we going back to legal foods after the super? We should always be on legal foods. That should be our mainstay, our whole life. We should have that legal food list, and that's 90%. Dr. Nelson says 80. I'll up her. Okay. I say 90. 80 to 90% of everything you eat should be on that legal food list. Period. Again, we're not going to tell you never ever have anything that's not on the list. Okay. That's ridiculous. Not going to tell you never ever to have sugar, but I'm going to tell you, if you have sugar, your brain's going to kick in and say, I want more sugar. Even though you might not have been eating sugar for a while, it's an addiction. And a brain is addicted to certain things, and sugar is the most. That's why alcoholics really cannot ever have a drink, because the brain will say, I remember those days. Come on. Okay, let's go back.
So the superfoods list that those are the most nutrient dense foods.
Correct.
So you should be eating those, incorporating those on a regular basis with the other legal foods. So it doesn't mean that you can't ever have brown rice pasta again, but you want to have it with spinach and, some grass-fed beef, and make sure that you are incorporating those legal foods, superfoods rather, in with the legal foods.
Yeah.
They're part of the legal foods, but they should be, the majority of what you're eating.
Right. So yes, for those of you who are looking at the superfoods, we're doing a 21-day after our last detox of superfoods. And then, but even after that, if you want to stay on the superfoods, stay on them.
Mhm.
And there's no limit to, coming off it. We just do it for 21 days because that's what it takes the body to adjust to things.
Okay. And what about loose tea?
I don't even know what this is.
Like like you can buy, like you can go to a tea shop and they sell just, but not in a tea bag. So it's the same thing. It's
It's still
the
the same
teas,
thing.
but there's something about the tea bag. We talked about this another
Yes.
time, that there's some chemical on the bag itself that is harmful. So, I mean, loose teas, again, yes, okay, but make sure you're drinking your water. Don't just think that because you're drinking tea, that's where your water is coming from. You still want to drink half your weight in ounces of pure water every day. Okay. So,
Okay. So people that have diabetes, type 1, type 2 diabetes, okay. It's because 9 times out of 10, it is because of things we've been eating. Now some people do have type 1 and they're born with it, which is unfortunate, but still they have to eat properly. A lot of times people get on, diabetics in general will say, well, I'm on medication. Well, that also goes with people with cholesterol drugs, blood pressure drugs, thinking that the drug is protecting them. It is not. It is not. It's balancing things. The numbers are all right, but you still have diabetes. So you still have to be more careful than everybody else that's not on the medication. All right. Because if you're diabetic and you're on metformin or whatever it might be, then what happens is the drug itself is creating some problems in your body. And then what happens is your spiking and everything of the sugar creates blood pressure issues, etc. So once you do that long enough, you become insulin resistant, even worse, and you'll be on insulin and metformin and all that stuff. So people that are, that have diabetes, telling you that I'm on medication for that or blood pressure, cholesterol, it doesn't matter because I'm protected. That is untrue. Absolutely untrue. Okay. The symptoms and damage done by processed foods can be reversed, and that is 100% correct. The body will heal itself if you allow it to and get on the right path. All right. So you have to identify the ultra processed foods that you're currently eating and find different foods. A quick story. This week, Tuesday, I had a couple come in here. Trish was here. Mother was over almost 60% body fat. Father is about 35 to 40% body fat, which is very high for a male. And they had a 5-year-old daughter. 5 years old, she weighs 103 pounds. Her body fat is 49.6%. And they came to me because I had done a consultation on the mother and father a while ago. And their friend brought them back in with the daughter because the doctors told them you have to change the lifestyle. Now, I talked to the parents at length, and they wanted me to tell them what foods a daughter should eat. And I refused. I refused because they wanted the daughter to eat healthy, but not them. And I told them I will not do that because, number one, the daughter's not going to do it. A 5-year-old is not going to eat healthy food while the parents are eating ice cream, chips, etc. They said, well, we want her to be healthy and the doctors are afraid. Well, they should be afraid, but you have to be afraid for yourself. And no child can do that without thinking they're being punished. And they won't do it. And in talking to the little girl, she won't eat vegetables. Okay. She'll eat some fruit, but she loves ice cream. And after I finally went through and talked to them, all of them, what they need to do and what they need to throw out of their house, as they were walking out the door, the mother asked me, if we change this, but just give her ice cream, will that be okay? So the message didn't get through, unfortunately. Okay. And of course I said, absolutely not. You got to throw away the ice cream. You got to throw away the food. And that's what I tell everybody. Don't have the food around. If you're in charge of the food and other people want food that's in your house, tell them to get their own food. But our job is to put the proper things in place. And then if people don't eat them, that's their problem, not yours. But if you're in charge of bringing the food in the house and you bring garbage in the house, you're telling them it's okay to eat garbage. Pure and simple. Okay. That's what we have to be thinking. Somebody in that house is the leader in that house. In every household, somebody is the leader in every category. Now, Patty's sitting here, her and her husband might be in charge of certain things, but she, knowing Patty, she makes the meals. She does the shopping. She's in charge of that. If she brings home junk food for her husband and then tells her husband, you shouldn't be eating that, shame on her. Because now she's an accomplice to his poor health. Okay? Because he's going to eat what she brings in, period. So we have to be thinking about that for our spouses, children, grandchildren, whatever it is. If you bring it in, you cannot scold them. You cannot doubt the fact that they're going to eat it because they're going to eat it. You're telling them it's okay because you brought it in. All right. So I can't stress that. Learn what are the most nutrient foods there are. Buy those, bring those home, and that's all you do. Okay. When you start adding things and different oils in your house, don't have the bad one. So you don't use them. Okay, somebody just asked a question. Organic roasted turkey breast by Dietz Watson, this is considered processed. It says organic turkey breast water contains less than 2% of sea salt, organic vinegar. It's still processed. Okay, anytime they take food and wrap it up, it's processed. Same thing with deli meat. Deli meat is processed. All right, because they have to process it to make it last. Those big turkey breast or hams or whatever you see, they're not going to use them all up right away. They have to process them. So the person who submitted this, yes, it is processed. It's probably not ultra processed, but it's in the medium area, I would say. I wouldn't get in the habit of eating it all the time. What's the best way to have a good turkey breast? Make one.
Buy a turkey.
Buy a turkey. Okay. Get into food shares if you want to. So starches that turn to glucose, which creates sugar and A1C issues and all that stuff. Our breads, pastas, oatmeal. Even though oatmeal is on the legal list, you can't overdo it. Rice, potatoes. We mentioned potatoes, flour. But again, these are the things, and some of these are more apt to be problematic. Like bagels are more apt than oatmeal. Okay. So if you're going through this list and saying, what's one should I get rid of? Get rid of the bagels, get rid of the popcorn, get rid of the cereals and the chips. Potatoes, the proper pastas, proper rices, they're okay. Just don't make them your staple. Do you want to say something?
Oh, I was gonna just here, these foods are for taste and pleasure.
Yeah.
So not for nutrition. So it's just not something that you want to eat every day. Bagels, if you want to make your own gluten-free bagels with a gluten-free flour and plain Greek yogurt, that's okay, but still not every day.
That's a lot of work. I would think. I haven't done it.
Say, what did your makeup last? Oops, oh, sorry, I got a little carried away there. Okay, here we go.
Sugars turn to glucose and fructose. Okay, what does that do? That damages our pancreas, our liver, and our intestinal tract. Okay, fruitcakes. Back in the day, everybody had fruitcakes at Christmas time. Okay, cookies, dried fruit, chocolate, fruit juices, pastries, pies, sweetened yogurts, muffins, any type of sugar is creating issues with our glucose levels. So, do we need to eat sugar? No, we do not need to eat sugar. Okay. Again, they're for taste and pleasure. If you're going to eat it, small portion.
And on a special occasion.
Yeah, special occasion, once in a while. Okay, fibers do not turn to glucose. They balance your glucose. That is why you've all heard me say vegetables, vegetables, vegetables. A little bit of fruit, but vegetables. If you don't like vegetables and won't eat vegetables, you'll never be healthy. Vegetables, broccoli, cauliflower, zucchini, kale, all that stuff is fabulous. It's fiber, helps to clean the intestinal tract. So as much as you want, whenever you want, I wouldn't do it right before bed, though. Still, no food before bed. And the best is at the beginning of a meal. Why? Fills you up. It's a filler, okay? And it breaks down easily. Proteins keep your glucose steady. Your nuts, your eggs, your fish, meat, legal dairy, plain yogurt, our instant meals, seafood, grass-fed, red meat, tofu. Okay? And you don't have to eat all of them. Some people don't like fish. Make sure you have extra good meats or nuts or eggs. And we have to have protein. Protein builds muscle. Okay? Steadies your glucose levels, and just have good portions every meal. And you can eat seafood, you can eat red meat for breakfast. Okay? People think you can't. You can. If you're at my house, I have meat every morning for breakfast, every morning. And I will tell you, just so you know, I had 2 eggs over easy with some grass-fed hamburger that I just fried real quick because I want to get in early, and an instant meal. That's what I had today. And I am not sitting here starving because it's a filler. It fills you up. And fats. Fats do not make you
Fat.
okay. Say that again. Fats do not make you
Fat.
good. Okay. So they're healthy. It's all the junk that makes us fat. So avocados, good. Your good oils are good for you. So just avoid the fats that are in junk food. That's what you got to get rid of. But healthy fats, if you like avocado, take an avocado for lunch, scoop it out, eat it straight. You will not be hungry.
Okay, so this next thing, this is kind of a recap, something to think about, all about sugar in different parts of your body and what it causes. Sugar in a baby's brain is ADHD.
Sugar in an adult's brain is Alzheimer's and dementia.
Sugar in your eyes is glaucoma.
Sugar in your teeth is cavities.
Sugar in your skin is wrinkles and aging.
Sugar in your sleep is insomnia.
Sugar in your blood is diabetes.
Sugar in your liver is NASH, fatty liver disease.
Sugar in your joints is arthritis.
Sugar in your body is cancer. So I want somebody to send me a message and tell me the value of sugar. The good value. Tell me a good value of sugar. Somebody said, so nitrate free isn't necessarily healthy. No, it's not. That's like saying gluten free is healthy. It's not. Is steel cut oatmeal better than the regular form of oats? If you're going to eat oatmeal, steel cut is your best. If you're going to eat oatmeal, just don't get in the habit of eating oatmeal all the time. I'm waiting for somebody to tell me something good about sugar. Going, gone. Okay? There is nothing good about sugar except taste and pleasure for the moment. All right? And you can get that out of a lot of things. So when you have family members, you have friends that insist on having desserts, on having junk food, you know what? It's okay to say no. It's okay to say no. No, thank you. When you go to somebody's house and they cook a meal and there's a lot of sugar, it's okay to pass on the sugars. All right? It's okay. Because you might be the one that gives them the idea that maybe sugar isn't the best thing for them. When they tell you about their children that's being treated for ADD and ADD and
ADD and ADHD.
yeah. Okay. Or that their skin is all messed up, or that, they have all these cavities. You got to have their maybe, or they're pre-diabetic or on the borderline diabetes. Maybe they'll listen to you and see how you're doing because you don't do the sugar and you're brave enough to say, no, thank you. I appreciate it, but thank you. Okay. Don't be afraid. Don't be the sheep where we just go along with the crowd. Don't do it. Say no. And I will tell you, I was with some friends a week or so ago, and last year I went with a group of guys, 3 other guys to Cancun, and they ate and they drank and they kept bugging me about it. But 2 weeks ago when we sat down together and talked, one of them said to me, you know what? He says, and he told the other people this, I got to give John a compliment because he sat there and watched us eat all this stuff and do all this stuff, and he didn't partake. And he said, I wouldn't have the strength to do that, but I got to admire somebody who just didn't do it. And that actually made me feel good because while I was there, believe me, the temptation was high. They were eating canolas, and we went to a different restaurant every night, different like country type restaurant. And there was a lot of stuff there that was really looked good. But I just said, no, you know what? And just knowing that person realized it and etc. And that person is about my age. And he said, I wish I could move around like you do and stuff. And I said, you could if you stop doing those kind of things. But he's not going to listen to me, but that's okay.
All right. So if you haven't had a Zyto lately, let's get you scheduled. Even those of you that are out of the area that can't make it into the office, we can do Zytos remotely. And let's see if I have a couple more questions or comments.
Someone told me Google, and yes, it says eating oatmeal reduces your cholesterol. What is no, eating oatmeal does not reduce your cholesterol levels. It's better than a lot of different things than bagels and that type of thing. But a lot of it depends on what you put on the oatmeal too. Okay. If you put, like I used to put sugar on my oatmeal, to be honest with you. I used to take and put all kinds of sugar and, some type of milk or something like that. Then we ruin the value of it right there. But, somebody just said something about quinoa. That's a much better option. Okay. You can eat quinoa for breakfast. But, okay. What else? Are there certain carbs besides sugar? Well, all carbs should be in moderation. All carbs should be in moderation, to include potatoes, like we mentioned. Anything else?
Nope.
Okay.
So our Facebook page, I know it was kind of quiet this past week while I was away. I tried to post some things, but unfortunately, I was eating out every day, but made good choices. Dessert we did not have until the last day, and in the afternoon, we went and got some gelato. But other than that, I think I had bread before one meal, and I had steak and mushrooms at one restaurant. So I didn't feel like sharing all my food pictures with you guys. So we'll get back at it now that I'm home and I can go get my own groceries and get back on the superfoods. Although I did have eggs this morning for breakfast with onions and mushrooms and yogurt and a scramble. So
Don't worry, I'll put it on the Tanita here. We'll see what really
I feel
happened.
good. Feel good. I was really proud. We walked everywhere. So all right.
Would you say you walked one time 2 miles
We
to?
walked 2 miles to go to a restaurant for lunch. So,
That's 2 miles back, so you
2
probably
miles
burned
back.
most of those calories.
and I had fish tacos there. Ooh, what are we looking at? Oh, look at my
Is that
view
Michelle?
here. That's Michelle.
Okay.
Gallery. All right.
Any questions? Anybody want to say something that verbally before we do our drawings?
She's been there. I think it's Mary Rankin. Is that Mary Rankin?
Good information, Patty and John.
Oh, thank you, Dawn.
Thank you.
All right, yes. So Mary Rankin. She's-
Okay, Mary Rankin's
Yeah.
on, okay.
Mm,
All right, we're gonna do our drawing. Okay, so every month, for those who are new, I give away 4 different prizes. The first one is a $100 gift certificate. You can use it on anything except massages.
Or acupuncture,
Yep.
anything that we have to
Anything.
hire somebody out for.
And then I give away a $50 one and 2 $25 ones.
And Elaine made it.
Who's that?
Elaine.
Oh, there's Elaine. Okay, yeah. So, okay, so we're gonna do the drawing for the first one. Will be the $100 one. You have to use them. If you win, you have to use it before the next class. So by the end of the day on the 20th, you have to use it. Okay. And once it's gone, that time passes, you lose. We all got phones and stuff like that. So, and I know everybody's busy, but that's our rules. It's my rules, so that's the way it is.
Sticking to it.
Sticking to it. Okay, so I put the other ones that I didn't see. Okay. All right. So we are going to do the drawing. And you have to be on to win. If I call your name and you're not there anymore, we draw again. And then maybe I'll win. I think.
You're always a winner, Jen.
I'm always a winner. And the winner of $100.
It's blank.
Anna. Is Anna on?
Yes, she is.
Where's she?
Thank you.
Oh, there you are. I see the top of your head. Congratulations. $50. Goes to Jane. Jane's still on?
Jane is there in top right corner.
Top right corner. Okay,
Jane, are you back in New Mexico?
you're muted.
Virginia, I believe. You guys are together if you're here.
Dana's New Mexico.
Thank you, Georgina.
Okay.
I
The
figured
first,
you guys
Thank
are
you.
sitting together. Oh, is
there's
that one or two?
So I'll just do both of them.
Okay.
So Patty pulled out 2, so these are the 2 $25. Ed Terry. Ed still there?
Yes, he is.
And my favorite month of the year, June.
June.
Okay,
25 for June.
okay,
you.
so those are the winners.
Right.
I appreciate everybody being here. I appreciate everybody participating and asking the questions, and I hope you learned something. I learned something every time we do these classes and we put them together. The real compliment goes to Patty though. She puts them together and, I don't hardly, a lot of times I don't hardly have to look at them. To be able to do them because she does such a good job. So I want to give her the kudos. We just got to keep her from going on vacations and then we'll be all set.
Yeah, I was in Florida, Carol.
Oh, nice. Very good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Was the weather good? Was it warm or not so much?
It was, we had like 2 or 3 beach days, like 70, low 70s and sunny, and it was cloudy. It rained towards the end, right? We left right before that storm came through and Texas got hammered with snow and everybody
Okay.
else going up. Yeah, we got out before that.
Warm weather is relevant. I mean, you know, like compared to here, yeah.
Right, right.
Well, it was, yeah, 60s and low 70s mostly, but yeah.
Where did you go in Florida?
Marco Island.
Oh, that's where
On
I
the
went
Gulf
last
Coast.
year. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it was
Really
nice.
Pretty, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions? Anybody have anything they would like to ask or suggest or anything like that? Marcy, you've been awful quiet. You didn't say a word. A lot of people didn't say nothing.
I think Luz is cleaning out her pantry now after she did dishes.
She's busy.
Oh,
And she
my-
still had time to, she still had time to ask questions.
yeah, my
Good.
dad gave me a water filter and I looked at the instructions. I'm like, I can't do this myself, so I'm gonna have to have someone for me.
More complicated than you thought, huh?
Yeah. Now that I actually have you guys on, can you send me a meal plan? I need an updated one.
Yeah, the food list.
No,
What do
like the recipes for like the week, like you could get recipes for a week, like that is what I'm referring to.
How long do you
Oh,
want? You want a
all
week
right.
or a month?
A week.
Okay.
Okay. I'll call you tomorrow. We'll talk about it, okay?
Okay.
Patty,
Yes.
I can't find my legal foods list.
Mm.
Could you add that to the list of something to send me?
Sure thing, June.
Thank you.
June needs my June needs legal food list. Okay. Anybody else?
Addie, could I have a legal
Mario.
food list also, please?
Of course.
And I want to tell you, your hair looks so pretty.
Thank
Oh,
you.
Really
yeah.
does, yeah, it's very nice.
Thank you.
Yours too,
And-
John.
Okay. Just want, don't be left out, okay? Dale, so does yours.
Oh,
All
John,
right.
I
Thank
got,
you.
I got more hair than Dale. That's a good thing, huh?
can I ask you a question? What,
You
what
can.
basically, you don't have to go into any details, but what do you think of the carnivore diet?
Ooh, okay. I like it
You
with
do?
one exception
Okay,
or a couple exceptions. I believe there's tons of nutrients in meat. And I had this discussion with a very wonderful lady about carnivore diet. I believe you still have to have vegetables. I do not believe you should just do carnivore, period. That's all you eat is meat. I believe you have to have vegetables to go with it. Okay. In my opinion, if you just ate good meat and vegetables, you would be so healthy. All right. I do not believe that just meat all by themselves. Now, the argument becomes that the animals, my argument is animals eat meat. That's how they got so healthy. That's why the meat is so good. Okay. Animals don't just eat, the animals we're eating don't eat other animals. They don't eat meat. They eat nothing but vegetables.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think if you take the two and combine those two and get rid of the other stuff, that's really where health comes, to be honest with you. All right. The other side of the argument is that the animals ate the meat. That's why they're so healthy. So you're getting the nutrients from the meat, from the vegetables that they ate.
The animals ate the vegetables.
Huh?
Animals eat the vegetables.
Animals ate the vegetables. That's how they became healthy. When you eat the meat, you get that. I suppose there's some truth to that, but I ain't buying it.
Okay, fair
So-
enough.
I had a discussion with somebody that, in that arena, we had that discussion. And I don't think I won her over, but that's my story and I'm sticking to it. And you might know the person that I had the discussion with.
I might.
You might.
We've
But-
had the
but-
same discussions.
Okay. Yes, I believe in vegetables. I believe that you gotta have vegetables for roughage, to help break down the meat, because meat does digest slower and
Mm,
can put a stress on the intestinal tract. But people that eat just meat, they will lose weight. I'm not gonna deny that.
yeah,
Okay, they will. But I think we have to have a rounded diet. Okay, I don't believe that just one thing. Just like I don't believe in people that just eat vegetables. I don't
mm,
believe in that. Okay, people that are
Vegan.
vegan, I
Yeah.
don't believe in that.
I
I
don't
believe we
either.
have to have a rounded diet. Now, we don't need sugar and we don't need high carbs. We don't. But the rest of it, I believe we need.
Yeah.
Regarding the eggs,
Uh-huh.
I was surprised the other day when I picked up a carton and it's Vitals. The name of that brand is Vitals, and the yolk was so orange. It's like, is this real? I've never seen eggs yolk so orange. It's
Yes.
like I was wondering if it was real, but now that you're saying that's the best one, it's like I still have it in the refrigerator because I refuse to eat the rest.
Yeah, you
No,
can, you
you-
can.
Yeah, that's the thing. People don't realize that the yolk should be like the moon, just orange. Okay. And most people have not really seen orange yolks. They've seen yellow.
Mhm.
So that's why we started carrying sometimes when we get them.
So like this color, orange, this is what your yolk, it should be dark like this.
Yeah, it was real. It's like I called my eldest. It's like I don't think this egg is real. You think it's a manufactured egg? And she's like, I don't know. It's still and it's the most expensive eggs I've ever purchased.
Well,
Well,
how much
I
did you
ref-
pay for a dozen eggs? Do you remember?
I think it was on sale at the Whole Food for something like $13.
Huh?
Woo!
Wow.
Yeah.
Next time you come in, I've got Fresh Farm orange eggs for $5.25 a dozen.
You sell eggs at the store?
Well, yeah.
I didn't know. So how comes you hide it? I've never seen it.
Yes.
Excuse me,
so-
John?
Yes.
This is Judy. I just have a question about the carnivore people use the argument that the vegetables are poisonous. In that you got to be really careful, like with glyphosate and things like that. So would that mean that you just have to be particular about which vegetables or how many vegetables to eat, or to wash them very well, very good?
You're talking, oh,
Washing them.
well, yeah, you gotta
Washing
wash
them,
them.
You know,
You
yeah,
gotta
'cause
wash them.
that's,
And you want, especially in the summertime, you want fresh vegetables. That's why a lot of people in the summertime go to places, your farm stands that are fresh, and then they'll
Yeah.
preserve or can them and do their own stuff, okay? Because what you're buying in the stores now, you're not sure where it came from, but you need to wash everything.
how do you wash,
but-
what's the best way to wash vegetables, do you think?
Um,
Vinegar and water?
apple cider vinegar, a little bit of apple cider vinegar. Some people like to use water with a little bit of hydrogen peroxide, stuff like that. Okay,
Mhm.
that's some of your best ways to wash them. And then once you wash them, then rinse them with cold water and refrigerate them. But wash
Mhm.
everything. Don't
it-
assume because it says organic or it says this or that
Mm.
that it's
Yeah.
clean. It's not.
Does it have to be food grade hydrogen peroxide? Or,
Best.
yeah,
Food grade is always better than other stuff.
So even the fresh vegetables in the summer, you should wash those too, the local.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because,
okay.
because here's the thing. Somebody can say it's organic, but if it's growing outside, you gotta understand. When it rains, that rain didn't just come from and just land right here. It came from other parts of the country. You don't know where all that water is coming from.
Right.
So you got, nothing is 100% organic anymore. That's just impossible with the pollution and everything else. It's just, so we have to know, just like we do, you wash your hands all the time. Why? Because you've been touching things, you don't know where it's been or what other contact has been. So same with your food you're going to put in your body. Even your meat, I wash my meat before I cook it. Okay. I don't care if it's grass fed, whatever. I wash it and then dry it and then cook it.
And fish too, fish maybe,
Anything.
anything,
Yep.
yeah.
I wash everything off.
Is it
Even the
still,
stuff, when we go to Alaska and they do it, they wash it. And before I cook it, I wash it.
should we
So-
still buy organic? I mean, is there a benefit to buying organic?
There is, yes. Organic is much better than non-organic, okay? But again, my point is, you don't know what is, unless people grow it in a greenhouse and they know where the fertilizer came from,
Right.
okay?
Right.
It's not been out in the air and the water they're using has been purified, then it's not true organic.
Right, I understand that. I understand that, but I just wonder if it's still worth the price, because organic food can be pretty pricey.
Yeah.
Well, then if you get real food, wash it really good. Just put the extra, put the effort into washing it really good and do it that way.
Do you let it soak, John, or do you just spray it like a spray bottle with that mix of water and apple cider vinegar?
I put it in a big bowl and I just put the water and the stuff in it and I just wash it that way and then I run water over it. I mean, I don't spend a lot of time doing it. I don't think
Yeah.
you need to spend, just wash it like you would wash almost anything else. And the meat, I just run the water through it and just rinse everything off and take paper towels and dry it. And then I'm ready to go. Season it and have dinner.
Caribbean
Yeah,
people
good habit.
don't eat without washing their meat. We
What's
have to
that?
wash our meat. We're not cooking it without not washing it.
Yeah. Yeah. Everything that we're going to put in our body, we should make sure it's clean as best we can. Anybody else?
Right.
Okay. I'm so glad everybody's here and I love all the questions. And if you have ideas about topics, reach out to us, text me, email, call, whatever you like to do. Sometimes we get like talk about the one topic. I mean, I'm trying to think of some things people asked us to do. But it's too narrow. We have to have
Oh,
something
like,
that
like
has,
the oils or something, cooking oils, yeah.
right.